Hey there, everybody. Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter from CARTERMATT.com.
Alongside the bottom of Coco Vanderwolf's head. That is like the smallest of cameos imaginable. This video is our Blue Blood Season 10, Episode 12 reaction. We are basically now past the halfway point of the season. We're making headway.
It has flown by.
It really has, and it's gone by in a way with... I still wish there were more continuous storylines. We do have the mayor now, and some of that going on, and maybe we'll have some more stuff start to surface. But I think within this episode, which is entitled Where the Truth Lies, we have sort of the revival of an old storyline, and Luis Delgado, who is back, kind of. There's wasn't a lot of Lou Diamond Phillips in this episode.
But everything that was there was so good. I can't say enough how much I love seeing these scenes with him and Donnie Wahlberg. So good together. They made the most of every minute.
They are kind of like, at first they were kind of like Batman and the Joker, but they've sort of just like come closer and closer to each other, and it's like, I don't know if they're gonna have a drink, these characters, together anytime soon, but they got a mutual understanding.
Yeah, they do. They have a very mutual understanding of losing their wives, having their kids, and what their family means to them. And as much bad stuff as Delgado has done, or as much good stuff as Danny has done, they will always have that connection.
Well, we'll talk this through as we go along and also preview a little bit of what's going to be coming up next on episode 13. Mm-hmm. But before we do, if you like this video, just give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other updates. So, I have been talking about Donnie Wahlberg being in the woods for at least like a good 2 months now, about how excited I was to see him. Yeah. Now we have gotten Donnie Wahlberg in the woods, everybody.
Yes, you finally got it in a way that you were going to want to get it.
Yeah.
We've now seen him in the woods twice this season.
I just want to see Danny. This is where this inside joke comes from. I just want to see Danny outside of doing his typical Danny stuff, and it feels like the woods are a good place for that. I mean, otherwise, where else are we going to put him? Like, at an amusement park? Are we going to, like, send him to, like, New England? I mean, that would be more like Donnie Wahlberg in his native environment, but...
Well, yeah, if he's got off time, I see him maybe, I don't know, fishing, baseball game, puttering around the home.
Yeah, I just want more Danny Reagan off the job, but, I mean, based on what we saw tonight, he's working, like, 22 hours a day, so...
Yeah.
I wonder if that's actually going to be a storyline, that he is just, like, burning the candle at, like, every end, and... Sooner or later, that's going to come back on him.
Well, yeah. I mean, we had this story tonight with what happened with the police officer getting into his car and taking his life, and which was a very serious storyline that we had. And with the end of this whole storyline, we had Frank sort of being spoken to about maybe getting a little bit of help or someone that he could talk to as well. And I'm kind of wondering if with all of that together, Danny working these very long hours, that yes, they have their family to lean on and that's important, but that maybe reaching out for a little more help, also not such a bad thing.
Especially someone like Danny, someone who has been through what Danny has gone through. I mean, he has found someone like-minded to share his experiences, but unfortunately, it's Luis Delgado, who is probably going to be going off somewhere under a different name in the immediate future. So he's not really got a lot of options.
Kind of a bummer. I was happy with the storyline. It was a good one. It was great to have these scenes together.
Yeah.
But this idea that he's going to be going off into witness protection... Oh, it kind of hurts my heart just a little bit, because what other reason could they have then to bring him back?
Well, maybe Delgado is going undercover as Lou Diamond's character from Prodigal Son, and maybe that's his new alter ego, but I doubt it. But anyway, it was good to have him back for another episode. I know he's really, really busy now, but I think this show is always going to be better when those two are around each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have another dynamic duo in this episode as well, in Erin and Eddie. Once again, we're not always friends in this episode, but they found some common ground.
Yeah, I mean, their relationship has been a little bit tumultuous over the time here, and them not necessarily finding the best footing. I know that it's not that they dislike each other, it's just... what Eddie said, she doesn't open up as much. Erin doesn't seem to really open up as much as she should either. They haven't really had a lot of time or opportunity, or have either one really put in enough effort to make that happen. It's difficult.
Yeah.
They're both very smart and in their own ways intimidating, very, very different backgrounds. So it's hard to make that connection to be like, so let's talk about your perfect family, or let's talk about your dad in jail. It's hard to bring these things up. This case really, I think, opened a door for these two in a way going forward that will keep it open. It's not just a little door. It was a much wider door that now... Yeah, Erin's like, oh, yeah, you're part of the Reagans. I don't know what you're talking about. But she is also JAMKO. So there has to still be that. She's not going to just lose herself into this family. She is adding to this family as a JAMKO and becoming a Reagan. There is both of her in that. And it's nice to have Erin seeing that, really seeing that.
Yeah, I think really a lot of this storyline is sort of these two people, they're around each other all the time at family dinner. But it's like family dinner just feels like a place you go to occasionally talk about your work and have little arguments and just, you know...
catch up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's also just like such this group environment that it's sort of like a dog pile at times where everybody is just like battling with each other to command the conversation, and... maybe you can't actually get to know each other on a personal level in that environment because you're all being, I don't know, a little performative because you're in front of an audience.
Yeah, and maybe you don't want to share all the really most intimate details of your life with a group of people, that maybe it does need to be these one-on-one situations, and they don't really have a lot of those with Eddie. But I will say this. I'm more excited about the idea of Eddie becoming a detective than I ever have been before. Tonight's episode felt a lot like the very real beginning of a possibility of that type of storyline.
Yeah, I do think it pushed us maybe in that direction. I mean, it's hard to say with Blue Bloods because they will spend some time hyping up something and then completely forget about it. But...
absolutely, but we had those threads today where she was, I have this sort of gut instinct, which is something that you see on lots of different cop shows and movies and stuff of that. Yeah. The detective that's following their gut, that is definitely something that's out there. So as soon as that started up at the beginning, I was like, oh, she's following something with her gut. She feels something's going on. We've got a detective at the scene that's like, go outside, take care of the family, do this, whatever. You're not a detective, so we don't want you around.
Yeah.
And her really digging deep into that, I've got a gut feeling, I'm going to chase this feeling. I was like, okay, something's kind of coming up here. Then we had that dinner scene where Danny had her back, and as another detective being like, follow your gut, chase that feeling. It's gotten me into trouble in the past, but it's also gotten me to where I am, kind of a thing. It felt almost like a little bit of a mentor thing, or just a little bit of family advice. Follow the gut, see where it goes. Maybe it'll land her in a detective situation. Maybe I'm pulling too much out of nothing, but I like the idea, and it felt a little bit like maybe.
I would like to see it. I think Blue Bloods is better when they do take some storytelling risks. I don't know what a Detective Eddie would look like. I don't know what that would mean with her and Jamie on the job. I don't know any of this because I'm not a police expert, but I am all for the idea of the show trying to shake things up a little bit. And so, at the very least, I would maybe put it on a trial run. Like, just see what happens. Maybe she just works with some detectives briefly and we kind of get a test of it.
Yeah, with, like, Baez and Danny. Maybe she can... I know they're partners and they're doing their own thing, but if they start kind of pulling into her a little bit more and learning a little bit more from her, having her help a little bit more... I just feel that if she kind of moves into that space, that she'll be able to work with Jamie a little bit more, and maybe Danny and Baez a little bit more.
I think really any opportunity to get Eddie sort of incorporated into everyone's storyline, it's good. It's sort of like, you're at the family dinner table and everybody wants a role or something. You want to just spread the love around.
Yeah, it just feels kind of like she's working on her own a lot more, and partners are kind of coming in and out, and whatever's happening, like it just feels like she's a little bit of a rudderless boat right now, when moving her into something like detective gives her some more fingers in different pies that connects everybody.
Yeah.
In a really good, fun work way.
I kind of hope it happens. We don't really have any idea yet, ultimately, but
yeah, like I said,
good.
I could be just kind of pulling at a tiny little thread that they put in this that is going nowhere.
Yeah, well, I guess it's time to talk about the Frank storyline. This is not easy for me. I'll be honest with that. My grandfather took his life when I was younger. I knew when this isn't the first time Blue Bloods has done storylines like this, and it's good that they do it. It's very good that they do it. I think the big thing to take away from it, and this is just something that I felt for a long time, is that sometimes it's okay not to be okay, but I think it's also okay to recognize that you need help and try to find a way to get that help, and try to establish constants in your life to, when you're struggling, you find a way to take that on. And I think after things like this happen, it's easy to be desperately seeking answers and trying to understand what happened and trying to make sense of it, and everybody wants a different answer and nobody has any answer. And I understand what the widow in this episode is looking for with that, and I think Frank is right in that there's no solution. There's maybe a way that you can give someone a little bit of peace. It doesn't take away from what happened, but I think this is really an episode about just sort of understanding the issues that go into this, but also not understanding, of also being okay with sort of just the unknown, but just knowing that sometimes you have to put your own interests aside and just be there from someone else who's hurting, and then wonder if there's anything else you could do. And you see that with Frank, with the religious leaders, and I know that I'm rambling, but
you're not,
within this episode, and you see them all sort of just try to counsel Frank on this, and he's desperate for a solution, and there's not a clear one that's there. Mm-hmm. So I think really you just have to do the best thing you can do is your best, and the best thing you can do is encourage someone that when they are struggling, you find a way to be there for them, you find a way to get through to them, but also recognize that unfortunately it's not always possible. This isn't an issue that's going to go away for Frank. It's not an issue that's going to go away in life for anyone, really. I think it's just mostly about how can we do our best to encourage people to speak out, and if that happens and they can get the support they need, then maybe the world starts to get a little bit better on the other side of it.
You're absolutely right. It's true.
And it's hard to talk about. It's not something to talk about all that often. And I'm happy that Blue Bloods tells this story, even though it's not the easiest to talk about. It's something, I think it's a message that people need to hear. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that kind of needs to stay sort of a part of the show's discourse, and I'm sure it will be brought up again at some other point, because this is something that happens to cops. My grandfather was a veteran. It happens to people who have experienced trauma, and they are the people who are the most sensitive and susceptible to it, but they are also the people who are the last to get help, because they're conditioned that they're tough, and they're conditioned that they don't need it. But sometimes you need something, and it's okay to need something.
And that's why one of the many reasons that Blue Bloods is such an important show, and that it is bringing these issues to the table, because there's lots of cop shows out there that'll bring you on a case and, go in, have the case and move on sort of thing. But Blue Bloods takes it to that level that it needs to be, which is to actually bring awareness of things that are happening through the police force and through that lens, and it spills over to everybody. It just does. And to have a show like Blue Bloods do something like this, and with other things as well. I said it a few, maybe it was a month or two ago, when they had with Henry's storyline talking about dementia and Alzheimer's and these types of diseases. And this show is a show that needs to be on the air.
Yeah, and I think it's taking on things in a way that's not exploitative. It's taking on them, and I think in a way that's just raw and realistic and kind of looks at the gravity of them. And I appreciate that, and I hope people can take away from it and educate and learn how to help others. And, there's not really any easy transition, but we should close by talking a little bit about the next episode. It's coming on not next week, not the week after, the very end of the month. Blue Bloods will be back. All of CBS's programming is going to be back. I believe it is the 31st. Yep, doing math in my head right. Okay. So we don't have a promo. There wasn't a promo that aired tonight. Instead, they're hyping up their other stuff, as they often do.
Yeah, so there'll probably be a promo in a little while.
Maybe a couple weeks. Yeah, but we'll hit you with a couple little things we know about what's coming up.
Yep.
Danny and Baez are going to be working on, lo and behold, another high-profile murder case, this time involving a photographer. It really feels like a lot of these stories are kind of like, oh, we've done this with Blue Bloods before, so it's like, how are we going to make this different?
Yeah, and we've even seen this type of, it's a photographer accused of assault by one of his models. That has been a storyline that we have seen on other shows as well. So it's going to be interesting to see Blue Bloods' take on it, because they have covered things that we have seen on other shows, but they put a very real feel to things.
They do, and I hope that there's going to be a way that they can use that and use this particular instance with like photographers and models to just sort of capture a level of nuance that they don't have when they're investigating, a beef between musicians like we already saw earlier this season. Yeah. Now, and with Frank, his story is going to be about police brutality, and, we've seen police brutality on Blue Bloods.
Yes, we have.
Many, many times.
Yes, many times.
So they're going to have to find a way yet again to separate that from the pack. There's no word on a Jamie and Eddie storyline in the synopsis. That doesn't mean there won't be one. It just may be secretive. Maybe they're promoting Eddie to a detective and they don't want us to know in advance.
It's possible that they might have something that's just more personal life stuff with them, or maybe their storyline will be helping another storyline.
I just hope that they don't go back to what you remember this when they had like Jamie and Eddie just like not really a part of some episodes, and Jamie was just at family. But don't do this to us. Nobody wants this. Coca Vanderwolf doesn't want this. This is like her shaking her head. No, I don't want this. But all right, well we'll wrap this video up. But tell us in the comments what you thought about Blue Bloods Season 10, Episode 12, and what you want to see moving forward. And if you do like this video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and if you want to support us more, just check the link in the description to the CARTERMATT store. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you here next time.